Welcome to Secrets Out Idaho. Each week, we let you in on the secrets of Southern Idaho and speak to the people who make it such a unique hidden gem. I'm your host, Connie Stouffer.
On today's episode, we'll learn about the transformative power of serving others. We'll hear how people from all walks of life can give back, why Rupert is the Mayberry of the Magic Valley, and how small-town life grows on you when we talk to humanitarian and volunteer extraordinaire Becky Schow. She'll share why serving others is the key to happiness and why you should make the Magic Valley Humanitarian Center your first stop. Becky Schow, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so excited to talk to you and learn all about the amazing things you're doing in the Rupert area.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I'm going to just start by having you tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, sure. My name's Becky Schow, and I'm the president of the Magic Valley Area Humanitarian Center. But just a little bit about myself. I've been married for 37 years. I have 2 children that are married, and I have 7 grandchildren. Wow. So my 2 children live in the area, and we just love the Magic Valley, and we've lived here most of our lives. My husband came from Rupert area, and his family have been there for many, many years. And so we just love doing things in the outdoors here in the Magic Valley. And we just love being a part of our community. I think it's really important to be a part of community. And so, we're just wonderful.
That's awesome. So you said your husband's from Rupert. Did you grow up in the Magic Valley too?
I did not. I grew up in Boise area.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah. And so...
Did marriage bring you here?
Marriage brought me here,
Yeah.
As does a lot of times for people. But, it's one of those places that I thought, if I could get back to the city, when you're raised in the city, you kind of love the city. But the more I've lived in the Magic Valley, the more I love the Magic Valley. There's such a strength in the kind of people that live here. Mm-hmm. They truly care about each other. And so that is, I could never go back to the city. I like to visit, and I do miss the sound of jets, and actually I miss traffic.
You're probably the only one.
But I'll tell you what, the Magic Valley is a great place to live. Rupert, Idaho is actually quite tremendous. There's a lot of great things happening in Rupert lately, and we're just one of those things that are starting to happen in the area. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. So speaking of caring about each other, tell me about the Humanitarian Center.
Oh, we love the Humanitarian Center. We've been going for 9 months now, and we started about 3 years ago. Something really unique happened. One of my friends sent me a video, and I got it on my Facebook, and it was about a center that had been going and has been going for about 9 years in Idaho Falls, called the Idaho Falls Area Humanitarian Center. And I watched their video of what they did. And I was sitting in my home office, and I said to myself, it just was such an impact on me. I says, we are doing this here. And I called up a friend. Her name's Kathy Duncan. And I says, what do you think about doing that with me? And she says, without even a skip, you bet. Because we had been going to Zimbabwe, Africa for quite a few years. And she, I believe, had been going for about 8 years, and I've been going for 3. And we'd go there and learn about how people really are suffering. Mm-hmm. In Africa, at least in Zimbabwe, and probably a lot of places in Africa, the people really are suffering, and they don't have the bare necessities that we have. And so you think, oh my gosh, well, the people here, if they're having issues, they have a park. It sounds really harsh. They have a park. They have a soup kitchen across the street. They can go get a meal. And a lot of communities are helping, reaching out to these individuals. But there, they don't even have that. So I saw the real hard stuff, and we do humanitarian work there. Mm-hmm. And we go back every year and do that in the fall. But as I watched this video my friend sent me, the impact was so strong. Mm-hmm. And so we just got to work and decided to make ourselves a 501c3 mm-hmm. so we could go and apply for the grants through corporations and businesses and get the monies that the center needs to run. And you know what's so really cool about the center is, and it's called the Magic Valley Area Humanitarian Center. One thing that's really unique about the center is nobody makes any money there, and we don't sell anything. And where in the world do you find that today? I mean, really, usually somebody's pocketing money somehow, they're getting paid, and nobody does that. It's all volunteer based. Mm-hmm. And so people come to the center and serve. those people in the Magic Valley that are needing things, that that don't have the same things that you and I might have, like toothpaste. I often ask kids that come in when I'm teaching them about the hygiene kits that we make. If you didn't brush your teeth, would you have, if you didn't brush your teeth, would you have very many friends? And they all giggle and they says, no. So, it's important that those people that are suffering right here in our own communities are helped. And we found out that it is amazingly fun.
I bet.
It is so fun to come to the center and just serve people. We have all kinds of things that they can do there.
Well, and speaking of fun, I know it's always fun to create and to give back, but I also think that the vibe that you would have in a building where everybody is doing that, everyone is there because they want to do something good for somebody else. Yeah. They're doing it without getting paid, without getting reimbursed for their time. They're giving up their time and efforts and skills and materials to do something for somebody they will probably never meet.
That's so true.
And I can imagine just the good feeling that you get being in that environment all the time is just electrifying.
It really is. It is. That's a great word for it, electrifying, because it really is that way. And people come in that I've never met before, and they've never met me, or they've never met the people that they're going to be working a few hours with. And the time that you spend with each other, all of a sudden you've got these great friends. And so it's just neighbors helping neighbors and community. And it's just inspiring because people feel differently. It's kind of crazy, but I've related this joy that you feel out of service when you talk about, you might not ever meet that person that you serve. I relate it to a chocolate bar as a woman. We can all relate as women and men to a chocolate bar. Happiness is actually very fleeting. I don't know if it's in your world, but in my world, happiness is kind of fleeting. You have it, and then it's gone. And so, it's like that chocolate bar. You eat it, and then what? You think, oh, I wish I just had some more of that. It was delicious, right?
Or you feel guilt about it. You're like, why did I feel my empty feelings with chocolate?
That just went to my thighs, right? But anyways, so happiness is fleeting. But when you do something for somebody that you may never meet, and most of the time you just don't ever meet these individuals, but you feel something different inside. It's not happiness. It's more of a joy that you reflect on. Now you think of something you've done good in your life at one point or another, and you think back on that. And you find yourself thinking back on those things, and you think, that was really an awesome thing. That made me feel good. I felt like I was doing something important. I was giving back. And that's the joy that you reflect on. A lot of times elderly people will come in and they'll help with different projects. And they say the most amazing stories, such as, my husband's passed away. I'm sitting at home. I'm not doing anything. I'm watching TV and I just feel worthless. They're kind of depressed. And it doesn't have to be just an elderly person. It can be any age today that we just might feel depressed. And when you give of yourself for somebody that really is the person that's needing it in a desperate way, not the people that want something for free, but the people that are really in need. When you realize you're doing that changes your whole world. It's changed my whole world.
I'm sure. And I think one of the big buzzwords these days are self-care, which is important to take time for yourself and to kind of check in with yourself sometimes. But I think one of the ways of self-care that doesn't get mentioned enough is doing things for others, because it makes you feel so good, right?
Not only feel so good, it just makes life good.
Yeah.
You're looking at things with different glasses. You really are seeing people that come into the center aren't always the people that are... everybody can give, but one unique thing that we have at the center is people are ordered by the courts to do community service. And it has been fantastic way of getting to know other people and different lifestyles, but more so for those individuals that come in. We've had one gentleman come in since we opened, and he just finished last week with his community service hours that he needed to do, which were over 200. And so we got to know Tom quite well. And he came up to me last week and says, today's my last day. And I almost wanted to start crying. The first week that he came, he was just rough and gruff kind of person. Here, sign this paper. I need this signature so I can take it back to the courts. And then after about a week and a half of him coming, that's like 3 times because we're open 2 days a week. And he was like, hey, listen, when I get done with my time, is it okay if I still come here? And I'm like, yes, duh, of course, we want you here. And he is just kind of a rough looking individual, but has a heart of gold. And everybody has learned to absolutely love this man. And he says, I go to the courts and I help other people try to come here, because it's been such an uplift for his life.
And I'm sure transformative, for the direction and course his life was on.
Yes.
To have something positive that he values and looks forward to and wants to continue to do, I think, wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah, and he added so much to our center, and he says he's going to still come, but he was helping in a section of our center where we make homeless mats out of grocery bags.
Oh,
And it's been really inspiring. It's really taken off.
Yeah.
He's gotten involved in the schools, the junior highs and the high school, where they have classes where they serve. And they learn to serve, and we've taken our looms over there and taught them how to make what's called plastic yarn, and it's called plarn. I know it's not a real word, but it's a great word because people remember plarn. It's plastic yarn. And so we take those grocery bags and we cut them in a certain way and slip tie them together, and it makes a plastic yarn. And we have giant needles that are like 36 inches long that are made out of wood, and we use them on the loom to weave these mats. And what's something that's really cool that Tom did is when he got done with the mat making it, he decided to take a beautiful colored plastic and weave it over the front of it into a heart.
Oh.
Now, what kind of a man? Now, this is a man that understands people that have struggle. And so when they unroll this mat, they see a heart. And if you're out on the streets or you need a mat for one reason or another, like your house burnt down and you don't have a bed and you just need a mat, well, a heart says a lot to people. And in our logo, it's the 2 hands put together that makes a heart. And really, that's what he was thinking of. And another thing about the homeless mats, we have a couple supervisors over this area, and they have developed these mats to become backpacks.
Oh, wow.
So it's really fun. It's really great because they're lightweight. They can be washed off in a river or a hose. They keep you cool. They keep you dry. They keep you warm and all those things. But we've added a pillow to them that's made out of the bags too.
Oh, wow.
And it's woven right on there. And Tom helped with that. And so he's just been, just all the people that come to the center have been great.
And I had a chance to tour the center, as you know, and I saw the mats out of plastic bags.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if people are listening, they're like, gosh, how comfortable could laying on plastic bags be? They're squishy. They've got some good give to them. And they actually, like, if you had the choice of sleeping on a cold sidewalk, and like, it would make such a world of difference to you. And I think those little touches of making them beautiful and knowing that someone made them with love, I think means something to people who are struggling and maybe aren't feeling love in their daily lives.
Right. And I think actually all of us need that. And so it's kind of a win-win situation because we not only help the people that are out there struggling, that need to feel loved, but the people that come into the center also feel this as they serve. They feel valued. They feel needed, they feel wanted, and they feel like they're giving back to their community, which is a huge positive thing. We have a young man, his name is Mark. He's not able to actually speak like me and you. He's in a wheelchair and he has some disabilities. He comes into the center and spins yarn. He takes a skein of yarn and puts it on our spinning machine, which you hand crank, and it spins it into a disc. So we can easily stack them and keep them organized yarns in the center where we crochet and knit. We make beautiful bereavement blankets in the knitting section, and a lot of things like little booties and little throws for the newborn kits that we make. And he comes there and he spins on this machine. And at first it was hard for him. His hands are crippled. and he got really proficient at it. And he would just squeal. That's his communication, because it made him so happy that he could do something. He felt like he was giving back. Yeah. This is wonderful. We have all ages spin, actually. It's quite fun.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And I think just so amazing, you talked about the transformation of Tom, who served in there. But I also think about people who maybe in their everyday lives don't interact with people who might be on community service or who might have a severe disability, and how good it is for people to get to know people of different walks of lives, and how that the Humanitarian Center has helped bring people of different outlooks and walks of life together in a common goal to do good, and how good that is for everybody. I just think that's amazing.
I really love that you said that, because it is a common goal that we all come together and we help each other out. Like I said, it's neighbors helping neighbors. And one thing that's been really encouraged in the center, and we've seen it constantly, is neighborhoods will come in, or bunches of girlfriends, or classmates. We have school groups being bussed into the center time and time again. And I'll tell you, when the kids come back that have been there before, they're like, from these classrooms, get out of the way. I'm getting right to where I know what I want to do. They just take ownership. And it's so neat, because they'll never forget how to do what they're doing to help somebody, and it makes them feel so good. But we've had leadership of big corporations come in and do team building. Even my husband's business, he did that with his managers. And one individual came from Idaho Falls, one of our managers, and he says, oh my goodness, I'm a man. I don't tie quilts.
You're like, you're going to today.
Well, no. Actually, we were making school kits. And so he had this perception that he was going to be making a quilt. And we do tie lots of quilts. But he had a perception that's what he was going to be doing. And once he actually even came a little late.
Because he was not committed to his day.
He just wasn't thinking this was his thing. And once he got making all these school kits, and might I add, we have given out over 1,000 school kits at school time.
What are included in those school kits?
Well, we have a high school kit, a middle school kit, and then, of course, the elementary. And so it is the basics. We have the papers, the pencils, the colored pencils, all the different notebooks, and a backpack, erasers, crayons for the elementary, and so on like that. And a lot of teachers ask for different things in the classroom. So it is the basics, and so they can add these other things as they need to later on. But so when this man got home, one of our managers got home to Idaho Falls where he lives, he was just so moved by what he had been able to accomplish. He felt accomplishment even making school kits. And he called me up and he says, Becky, I'm sending you a check. That was the greatest thing I have ever done.
Wow.
I know that something so simple can change your heart so quickly.
Yeah.
And that you feel like you're doing something of great importance, and you really are. Everything in the center is actually of great importance. And we can talk about some of those things, and you think, really, that? And yes, they're all specifically driven to help certain areas.
Well, and I like, too, that no matter your skill or ability level, there's something that you can do there. So whether you're an expert quilter or have never touched a piece of fabric in your life, or maybe have limited dexterity in your hands, or other limitations that make you think, what could I give back? There's something that you can do, whether that's donating plastic bags or something like that. Yeah.
True. And that's another thing when we talk about the plastic bags, just really quick. One person says, really, do we need to separate the colors on these bags? We're just going to weave them, and the person that gets is not going to care. And I says, excuse me? I says, we make beautiful quilts in our center. We're going to make beautiful mats in our center.
And they're beautiful.
They all have their own little design on them. They kind of look like beach towels. We've even had people make, basketball courts and designs on them, or a big rainbow on them, or the hearts, of course. But, I says, we can divide these in colors. It's not going to hurt us. And we can make beautiful mats for those that get them. So it's been fun to make beautiful things, and we want people to feel when they receive the things that we make that it's something beautiful for them. And to go to the quilts, we make a lot of quilts. It's cold out there.
It is.
Today it's pretty cold out there, and people need to stay warm. And not only that, they feel loved when they put a quilt around them. Little children that are homeless, a lot of times they're put into little motels around these small communities. And there's some great people out there that fund that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the calls through the migrant services to get blankets to these individuals. Just today, we donated, I think, about 10 quilts to Twin Falls to the school district that are helping these families, some families that just moved in that have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the kind of quilts that me and you would both pay big bucks for.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Matter of fact, we've had one lady, she came in, and I know her quite well, and she says, "Becky, whatever you do, save that quilt for me." And I says, "I'm sorry, we don't save quilts for anybody." And she says, "I will pay you anything you want." And I says, "We don't sell anything, but if you'd like to make a donation, we'd be happy for that." But I says, "We don't sell the quilts. We give them to those people out there that absolutely will never have a quilt like that."
Yeah.
And so it's really fun because a lot of people are familiar with the Gathering Place in Rupert, Idaho. It's kind of a famous little fabric store where they make beautiful quilts. And these different women have retired from that location, and they just come down the street. And so they put the kits together, and believe me, it's amazing.
Yeah.
These quilts are beautiful. And they're not just scraps of fabrics.
Yeah.
We have been donated through grant lots of beautiful top-of-the-line fabrics that have never been used. Mm-hmm. But another thing about this group that donated that, which is extremely cool, is they want to stay anonymous.
Oh, wow.
Most people in the world today, they want their name out there, and there's good reason for that in a lot of cases. But this group, they don't need that. And so we're thrilled to be able to receive top-of-the-line fabrics in their plastic, on their bolts, and use them in the center.
Yeah, well, and your point about having something that's handmade with love and how it makes a difference, it does. When my son was born, he had to be in the NICU for a couple of days, and at the hospital we were at, people had donated handmade quilts for the babies that were in NICU, and we were given one, and we have means, we weren't homeless or anything like that, but what it meant to have something that somebody made and gave for the babies there was just so touching. And so I can imagine a family who's maybe lost their home, or maybe just a family who's having a hard time, and children who have nothing, to have something that they know somebody made by hand to give to them. Right. It makes all the difference.
It does. And one unique thing about the center, because we are set up the way we are, a good way to explain how people receive these items. For example, I've always used the school classroom. So if there's a student in a classroom that does not have the school supplies that they need desperately just to get through the school day, the teachers do notice those things. Mm-hmm. And they know that individual may not be able to afford the items that they need. And so a form's been given to the schools, to the principals. The leader of that organization has that form, and the teacher can say, "Hey, we've got 5 kids in this class, and there might be 5 kids in each class." So the principal can tell us, we need 50 school kits, or we need 25 school kits. Mm-hmm. And they let us know, or we call them. We've networked with over 30 at this point of different groups that we are constantly going back and forth and making sure their needs are filled. And so that's how it works with any organization, that we give to the people that are really in need, not the ones that want something just for free. Matter of fact, the word got out that we were making backpacks. And so parents were calling and saying, where do we line up for the free backpacks? And the thing is that's really sometimes how our society is today. We all like to win something,
get a deal,
something free.
Yeah,
we absolutely do. But so that's how we work it, is we get to the leaders of the organizations, and they get it right to the hands of the people that are really the ones in need. That's
so important. So if someone had, what are things that are in most need? So if someone wanted to donate either their time, materials, funding, I'm sure is always welcome. But
funding is top.
Yeah,
it is top. You can go to and try to win all the grants or be awarded the grants from different corporations. There's a lot of people after them. We have been doing fairly well. We have a couple women that are donating their skills in that area. We're always looking for more skilled people to help. But and it doesn't matter where you live, you can help with this. But private donation is always welcomed.
Yeah.
We love that. But we make quite a few different things. Can I tell you just some of the kits we make so people would kind of know what
that'd be great.
What we do? So we make, of course, the quilts and the blankets, little blankets in the newborn kits, and of course, all different sizes blankets. We would do twin, queen, and the baby blanket, and then the lap blanket for individuals. And so we make the blankets. And so you can go onto our website and see all these items as well. We have it broken down to the exact things that we need for each kit.
And can you tell us that website address?
Yes, you bet. So our website address is www.mv, as in Magic Valley, humanitarian.org.
Perfect. We'll make sure to link that in our show notes too.
You bet. And so that's really fun. We also make, the homeless mats, so people can gather up their bags.
I'm sure everybody listening to this has a drawer in their kitchen full of plastic bags that they've been meaning to recycle or to reuse. They can bring them down.
And you know what? It's just as easy for the individual that brings those, and we really, really appreciate that. But if they can just flatten the bag. Flatten the bag.
Sort them by color if they want.
Sort them by color would be so fantastic because every little bit helps. We make newborn kits. So the Valley House right here in Twin Falls is one of the places that we donate to. There's a lot of families that are in need there, and a lot of mothers that have just had babies and do not have the supplies. And they get everything handmade, beautifully made. Little onesie sleep sacks that we make right at the center. We've been donated all the sew machines and sergers.
Oh, wow.
And so it makes it really fun to sew on a nice machine, making a beautiful item. So we make newborn kits. We make hygiene kits, which we've talked about. And we've given out over 1,500 hygiene kits. There is a lot of need for hygiene kits. So
when you're choosing between toothpaste and food or deodorant or shampoo or something, you're going to make the necessary choices. Yeah,
you're really right. And so there's a lot of people there. We've supported the CSI refugee program in that. We make, of course, the school kits, and we make what's called a file folder learning game. And it's in a file folder, and it's they're learning materials in this folder that's kind of a little game for individuals that are maybe preschool or lower grades. And they can learn like their math, their phonics, all different kinds of things at different levels. And so we've also given those out to the CSI refugee program, which they've loved. They're all colored at the center with colored pencils. And then they're laminated and Velcroed, so it's like a little game that Velcros, and then a little pocket on the back that you can put all the pieces in. Now, one really amazing thing.
So that is something that children could help with. So if you've got like middle-aged school kids or even younger.
We have lots of groups come do that.
Yeah, that's something that you could get your kids out and volunteering and helping
with.
Yeah.
Today we had a family come in. They were all doing that, coloring those folders. And we have retired school teachers that have used these file folders in their classroom for years, and they know all about them. And so we've collected quite a different array of different kinds. And so every month we have a new 5 folders that we're working on. And so it's amazing. One thing that this folder is really good for, and this is the part that's just dear to my heart, is you think about all your grandpas and grandmas out there that are in rest homes that have had stroke or dementia. They're suffering with these kinds of things, and they need to relearn a skill of like, this is a circle and this is the pattern of a circle, so I'm going to put this shape on there and I get that. Or this is a triangle. Some really basic things. And they're nice because they can be wiped off because they're laminated, and we have those kinds of things in the center. So, I thought at first when I learned about the color, and I thought, really? Do people even color anymore? Because, they have their cell phones. They can drop the color in on their shape. It's done. That's how people color today. But when they come into the center and they color, it is absolutely kind of like therapy, because we have had young scout groups come in and they're sitting all together and they're all boys, and the leader will say, this is going to be a train wreck. Boys don't color, and we want to do something manly. And I says, let's just try this. So they start working on the folders.
I bet it's quiet in there, right? Like, I bet they're
they're just having a ball talking.
I imagine they're just focused.
Well, a lot of times they're focused, but I noticed something. A young man said, oh my goodness, my hand's cramping, because he's never used his hand like that before. He's always used it scrolling on his phone, but now he was actually coloring and paying attention to what he's doing. And I go around and kind of help him see that coloring this way is better than coloring this way, and to fill it in and make it look a uniform color. But anyways, so we try to do our very best.
Yeah.
And then across the table from this young man, another man says, "My hand is cramping too." And I just bust out laughing. And
they wanted something buff and manly to do, but they didn't realize they were going to get quite the workout.
Yeah, the workout, and their hands were cramping and all these funny things. And, these are kids, young boys, these scout groups from 12 to 16 years old. And we had about 30 of them in there that evening. And I thought, if they didn't really like this, they could bust out that door really fast. They didn't need to be there. But when they said that, it made me stop and just kind of stand back and look at all these kids. And I saw something amazing. It was life-changing.
What was it?
None of them had their cell phones on. And none of them were talking or texting on their phones. Not that that's a bad thing, but they were totally engaged, talking to the person next to them. I think it was a new learned art. And that they were actually having fun.
Yeah.
And their adult leaders were there and they were having fun.
Yeah.
Something so simple. And I think once they learned who they were going to help and what kind of impact that this could be was actually kind of a little light bulb moment for them. And every month now we give out because they've been asked for over 150 of these folders.
Wow.
And you're thinking, it's a huge impact.
Yeah.
There's so many kids, there's so many elderly, there's people that are suffering with dementia and stroke. And it makes them so happy to have these things.
Yeah, and that's a population that I wouldn't have thought about, the people suffering from dementia and stroke. You think about homeless people or children in need, but there's really so many different elements of our society that could use something, right?
Yeah.
And that just needs a little bit of something. And I think it's just amazing how you're filling so many niches in the community all out of one building. It's just phenomenal.
Well, thank you. And it is filled like that. And a lot of times the directors of these facilities where these individuals might be, they said, you know what? We have a lot of capable people. Still, they're very capable. And we're just going to bus them to your center and let them help. Yeah. And this changes. Not everybody wants to play bingo constantly.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing. Variety is good. And service is phenomenal. It changes heart. It changes the way you feel. One lady says, you know what? It was hilarious. She says, she was coloring and she said, I just have to tell you, I'm on antidepressants. And I looked at her and I says, well, a lot of people are. Don't worry. Yeah. And she says, but I think if I come here often enough, I won't need that. And I says, well, I'm not a doctor.
Consult with your doctor first.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm saying it will fill you, definitely fill you and change the way that you feel. And you'll have great joy in your life. And I think that it's really true. It changes your perspective on so much. And life is, again, very fulfilling and very good.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot in the news about loneliness and how it's impacting people, particularly elderly people, but I think even younger generations, because like you said, we're on our cell phones all the time. We're not interacting. We're not having conversations face to face. And loneliness is an incredible factor in depression and sadness in people. And I think for people who are maybe widowed or live alone, regardless of their age, are probably at home and feeling lonely and having something inside them that they can give back, but they don't know how. And to have a resource like this in the community where people can come and feel useful, meet people, have connection and friendship and community, that's a big hole missing in a lot of people's lives. And so you think about the people who are receiving the gifts on the other end, but the gifts that people are receiving, I think those internal gifts that they're giving, I think you can't put a price on that. You can't manufacture that in another way other than just going out and being of service to people, I think.
It's so true. We had an elderly lady. She was I think she's about 89 years old. She's quite old. And she says, again, my husband has died. I'm at home alone. She goes, I like these homeless mats, but I don't have a loom at home, of course, but I can crochet. Man, everybody at that age knew how to crochet. I don't think I know how to crochet, but she did. And she goes, do you mind if I just take these 2 giant garbage bags of grocery bags, take them home, make them into plarn? I showed her how to do that. And then she says, I'm going to crochet a mat. She came back 2 weeks later and had a mat. And she goes, I says, how many hours did it take you? And I felt so bad because I thought, oh, her hands are sore.
Yeah.
And she says, she just had the biggest smile on her face. And she says, it took me 80 hours. She had plenty of time in the evenings.
Yeah.
And she goes, I really feel good.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm giving. And I looked at her and I thought, wow, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
And she goes, is it okay if I get another 2 big bags? So she's been doing this, and she's got down to the hours of making a mat 54 because she's become so proficient at it.
Yeah.
And she really feels like this is an awesome thing. And we've seen individuals in the community walking around with these mats.
Yeah.
We've seen them. Mm-hmm. And so we know that they're getting to the right places, and there's a lot of individuals that are helping us getting them to the right people. Mm-hmm. And it's heartbreaking. I actually went with Dr. Zerabinitsky. He's out of Burley, and he does a lot of humanitarian work. Mm-hmm. He has a couple orphanages in Idaho, mm-hmm. and so I went with him on a weekend to Boise, and we took some of our hygiene kits and we took some of our mats, because if there's a huge need outside of the area, you can't be selfish with service. Mm-hmm. They just don't go together. And so we took some of these things up to a few different shelters up there that he was very familiar with and had been to these shelters several times. And at this one shelter, as we pulled down the alley and there was an overpass to go to downtown Boise, it was pretty heart-wrenching when we'd see an individual laying in the dirt, nothing to lay on, just laying in the rocks and the dirt off to the side of the alley. It was heart-wrenching. And as we pulled in there, we had a big pickup truck full, and we started handing them out. And these people look normal, but once you talk to them, you find out there's a lot of mental illness involved and a lot of sadness, and whatever the issues are, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that we help, mm-hmm. and that we just make a little difference. It's kind of the story of the starfish. Mm-hmm. Everybody's heard the story of the starfish, I'm sure, but my version doesn't have a man in it, has a woman in it. So I'll tell you my version of the starfish. So this woman went out onto the beach and she saw all these starfish being washed up mm-hmm. onto the shore. And she started picking them up and throwing them back into the ocean so they wouldn't die. And a young man came up to her and said, "What are you doing that for, lady? That you're never going to be able to take care of all these starfish." And she picked up one and threw it back in. She goes, "I just did with that one." And so that's really mm-hmm. the whole key. One at a time, we can help.
And just think
one
about
at a time.
Think about if we all pitched in, right? We could take care of all the starfish. If that other guy on the beach would just helping throw them back, right? If we all felt empowered to do our little bit of good out there in the world, it would make a world of difference.
It would make a world of difference. It'd be not only better for those people that are struggling, I think they'd become better and maybe wouldn't have the same struggles, and we would grow from it and mm-hmm. become a happier people.
Yeah.
Just better in so many ways. So those are some of the things we do at the center, and we love working at the center. We're open 2 days a week. Mm-hmm. On Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 3. And you think, oh, shoot, that's right when I work, or that's right when I go to school. Mm-hmm. And actually, I'm a full-time employed mm-hmm. The other days in my husband's business. And so I know what it's like firsthand mm-hmm. to work mm-hmm. a job and might not be able to go to some of these other things that, you would do during the day. And so we've made an opportunity in the evenings to call in and reserve a time to come on a Wednesday or a Saturday. Oh. And so people can come in mm-hmm. and bring their families. We've had family reunions. Now talk about
really
fun.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great idea.
And the kids get involved. We don't really have much for kids under the age 11, but we have coloring pages that they can come and be a part of, or spinning. Lots of kids can do that at smaller ages. So they can feel what it's like to be in the center, because to learn service from a young age is really important.
It is.
And so that can change the way they feel about it.
And it sounds like people can do things from home too,
they
right?
They can.
Yeah.
We've had all kinds of different families do things at home, like we've talked about. We've had organizations and church groups of all different denominations come and do things at their buildings or at their facilities. And they love it. We love it. And they bring that stuff in and we're able to then distribute. It's just a win-win. It really is.
Yeah.
So
one other item that I want to ask you before we take a little detour. So when I got to tour the center, you were telling a story about something that I had never thought of, but a lot of ladies in their house have something hanging up in their closet that they're not using. If you want to tell me about what you did with your wedding dress,
I'd
share
love
that
to.
story, because I was so moved by that.
Yeah, it is. It's just, well, thank you. But to lose a baby at birth, I've never had that, but a lot of people have. And I think that it would be very difficult. I mean, you've grew this baby within you and you're looking forward to having this baby. Or maybe it's a baby that you've adopted or I don't know, but a baby dies at a young age or at birth. What do you do then? You're grieved, you're grief stricken, and you can't just run to a store and find a beautiful dress or a little suit to bury your baby in. And so we make those at the center. We have a couple women that love to make beautiful little dresses out of wedding dresses. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have a wedding dress in my closet. It's one of those things I'm not planning on wearing again. Not only because I'm happy with my marriage and everything, but it's a little outdated. Wedding dresses these days are a lot different and they're quite beautiful, but it's one of those dresses that have a lot of lace on it. It was beautiful when I wore it. But I thought, this could make a lot of baby dresses. And so I brought it in and I looked at it and I thought, I don't remember how beautiful the back was. It had lots of, buttons all the way down and a big long train. I mean, they used to be in style to do all that. But so I gave it to the seamstress. I says, I'd really like to donate this. And I gave it to her. And she said to me just 2 weeks ago, and this was quite a few months ago that I gave it to her, probably a month after we started. And she says, you know what? I finally got myself to cut your dress. And I says, I remember the day I brought it in, I had to look at it one more time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a silly, but she says, it just was so pretty. I hated to cut it. And I says, you cut that thing up. Can you imagine how many beautiful dresses for these little babies that you can make? She goes, it's going to be beautiful. I says, I can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
I can't wait to give it.
Yeah.
And so it becomes really easy. The more you give, the easier it is to give.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, I have my wedding dress. I'm going to go get it dry cleaned and bring it over. It's not as lacy.
Lacy's gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. But I think there's just so many things that everybody has something they can give, whether that's their time or the wedding dress that's been sitting in their closet for 20 years that they're never going to get out of the bag, that could give somebody something in such a terrible time in their lives that nobody could even imagine, and to have something, just something.
Something so beautiful to bury their baby in. I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah.
So we give those to mortuaries and to hospitals, and we're thrilled to do it. So, just because yesterday was Martin Luther King Day, I just had this quote come up on my phone. I printed it out so I could read it. It says, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And so Martin Luther King said that. What are you doing for others? In our society, sometimes we get so taken with what's going on in our own lives. And it really is absolutely thrilling to give to people and to work at giving to people.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And I have a little thing. I have a little sign on my wall, and I changed the saying. And right now, it's on there. It says, "Dwell on the positive."
Yeah,
I think it's so easy to, like you said, get stuck in what's going on in our own lives or in the news or just negativity that's out in the world. And what a better place to put our energy and to give to others, do for others, dwell on the positive things that you can do for the world. And I think it makes all the difference.
It does. And the supplies that it takes to make these kits, it takes funds. And so if I could encourage anybody out there that wants to give, because it's all 100% going to these individuals. And I do love, again, that nobody in our center is paid and nobody sells anything. You know, the center was actually a grocery store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was a grocery store. And we went in there and cleaned it up and had to paint, put floors in and all those things. But so it was going to be a good place for anybody in any situation to come. But it's really funny because I have seen people bust into those doors looking for butter and milk. And when they see, they're kind of shocked. What is in here? You know? And some people think it's a store and they start shopping.
Oh.
We don't have carts, but they start thinking, oh, I need this pencil or this pen. They're looking at the school kits because that's one of the first stations. And I always go up to them, I says, let me share with you what this center's all about. And they stay for a while and they start to love it. It's an easy place to fall in love with. So just encourage people, if they want to give, to give.
No matter where they are, what they're doing.
No matter where they are, what they can do, you can all do something.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So I'm going to take a hard detour.
Okay, let's do it.
And go talk to you a little bit about life in Rupert and growing, living there. I know you grew up in Boise, but you've spent a lot of your life in Rupert and raised a family there. Tell me a little bit about life in Rupert for someone who hasn't been there.
Well, Rupert is such a small community when you've come from the city. But that was a lot of years ago. I've lived in Rupert longer now than I was in the city. But just the kindness of people in Rupert. It's a phenomenal place. I think it's a very special place in the Magic Valley. People really don't think about Rupert all that often, but if you come down to it, we have something really unique about Rupert. It has a little square.
It's beautiful. It's such a Americana kind of feel on the square. It's something, particularly out west, you don't see that very often.
No. And at first, when I first moved there, I thought, this is Mayberry. And I thought, you absolutely are right. And it is the most wonderful place. They've done a lot of, as of late, improvements to our square. And we've got old clocks on the street. We have, it's just beautiful, a beautiful fountain, a beautiful square that has beautiful trees and a park. And it's just such a lovely place. And the thing about Rupert that's really special are the people. They're extraordinary people. I think they're really unique because they all care about each other. And there's a lot of farming going on. And in a farming community, what happens is when a farmer really is like set back and they can't get their crops in, maybe there's some bad weather that's happened, people pull together in this community like you would not believe. A lot of times people have written stories about this area because of their attitude of generosity is incredible. So it's really the perfect place to have a center because these people already know about giving. It's nothing you have to teach them. They come in groves. You know, the first day we opened up, well, the first week we had 500 service hours in the center.
Oh my goodness.
The first week. So people really love that. So, you know, that would be like 25 or 30 people would come and just serve. Now it's to 70. Wow. So it's growing. We have a little sign in so we know how many people have come into the center so we can use that on our grants of how much service time is actually given at the center. And but it's wonderful. Rupert is a wonderful place. I feel really blessed that I live there. The first time I moved there, I thought, you know, I miss the city. But I have totally changed my mind.
And your kids live in Rupert as well?
You know what? I figured they would probably move away. I have a son and a daughter. You know, after schooling, kids move to the city or they move where the jobs are. And both of them live in the area. And so it's been a great blessing. I have 7 grandchildren, which, you know, grandmothers are pretty excited about that.
Yes.
Love their families. And so it's been a great place to raise a family, a wonderful place. And so we have a lot of neat things in Rupert happening, and the center is just one of them.
Well, there's so many fun things for kids and families to do in Rupert with all the programming at the Wilson Theater, and all the things you guys do at Christmas time, and the ice skating rink that you guys have there now.
And the 4th of July is huge.
Yeah, there's always something I feel like particularly for families in the Rupert area.
And we just had our first beat drop.
Oh, yes.
That was really fun. I'll tell you, a lot of people came out to that. And of course, it's midnight and the streets were full. So it was pretty exciting. And so it's just a community where all people work together, and our leadership in our community is really unique. And so they've just been so positive about the center, so willing to help us in any way, and just all of the leaders of our community. And so it's just been a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. If someone's coming to Rupert or the Magic Valley for the first time, either to visit or to think about moving their families, what's something that they have to go do?
They have to come to the center.
Yes.
They really do. It is a pull, because they can spend 10 minutes. But, you know, when a person comes in and says, I've only got a few, they usually stay for a couple hours because they can't leave. It's one of those places that I would say, you know, the Magic Valley has beautiful outdoor things. You've got the canyon, you've got beautiful mountains, you've got resorts, you've got beautiful lakes and rivers. And that's fun. It is really fun to do that with family. We've done that our whole lives. But to come to the center, I would encourage everybody just to come to the center.
Yeah.
And make it your stop in Rupert, that you come there and you just serve. And a lot of our supplies come right here to Twin.
Yeah.
We're giving to the whole entire Magic Valley, wherever the needs are. So, it's just wonderful.
I'm sure. So, first stop, the center, and get their feel good in. What are some of the things that your grandkids like to do in the area? How old are your grandkids?
Well, my oldest is 9 years old. So that's my oldest grandchild. And so, of course, they're into the activities of sports and soccer and basketball and football and those kinds of things. And so those are the activities we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But we do spend time out on the river. We love the Snake River. We love the mountains. My husband and my son are avid hunters and fishermen. So this is a perfect kind of place to live.
Yeah,
for all those things.
Yeah, it's got everything.
Yes, it is. Okay. So I'm just thrilled about the center, that it's a place that people can make a difference in their community, and that it's a win-win for all people, the people that are served and the people that serve. And so we just love to invite everybody to come and to go to the website, and they can look us up on Facebook. We have a lot of people that look at us at Facebook and what's going on in the center. And so we just love to have everybody come be a part of that.
Awesome. Any last little bits that you want to share with anybody? Anything I missed or didn't ask about?
Well, I'm just trying to think. I think you're very good at interviewing. This has just been really fun. I've never done this before, but it's just a great opportunity just to come share and to serve people. You know, like I said, when you serve somebody that you may never meet, it really changes your heart. It makes you a happy person. And not that we're sad, but it just brings that huge fulfillment within a person that you just cannot find or buy or any place else.
Yeah.
You know, you can get fleeting happiness from buying something that you've been wanting to get. You know, maybe it's a new car or a new toy or a new pair of shoes. But doing something for somebody that you may never meet is truly where real joy comes from and changes you from the inside out. But it's just been really fun to talk to you. And I just really appreciate you're inviting me here to talk about something that's really made an impact on my life and is making an impact on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all the work that you do. I'm just so glad that you were inspired and driven to create this for the Magic Valley. And I'm just so impressed with all the things you're continuing to do in such a short amount of time. I just think it's such a blessing for the Magic Valley and all the people lives that you're touching. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that with us. And we'll be able to share ways for people to connect with the Humanitarian Center on our posts. So thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Secrets Out Idaho. You can follow Southern Idaho Economic Development on social media or visit southernidaho.org to learn more. Please take a moment to leave a rating and review and subscribe so you can be the first to hear more Secrets Out Idaho. Until next time.